The career of the Joseon Dynasty. Many of you will know Korea thanks to BTS, for its cinema, for its technology, and for its futuristic cities worthy of science fiction movies. But can you imagine what the country was like more than 500 years ago? Today, we will tell you what life was like during the Joseon Dynasty and how Korea ruled for more than 5 centuries. This was the last dynasty to reign in Korea, but their efforts and works can still be seen today in Korean society and day-to-day life. Establishment of the Joseon Dynasty. The Joseon Dynasty was born out of a rebellion against the Goryeo Dynasty at the end of the 14th century AD. The rebellion broke out at the will of a high-ranking army officer, Yi Sung-ye, who overthrew the previous kings in order to establish his own dynasty and consolidate his power. The main cause of this rebellion by Yi Sung-ye was due to the bad government that had been leading the decadent dynasty, as well as his stance against the Ming China, his neighbours. In the end, these differences led to its downfall. In the year 1392, the longest dynasty in Korean history was born, the Joseon Dynasty, which disappeared in August 1910 when it became a Japanese colony. Society in the Joseon Dynasty. Confucianism. Confucianism was adopted as a state religion by the Joseon Dynasty, contrary to Buddhism, which was enforced in the previous dynasty. The doctrine provided an educational system capable of generating social mobility through examinations for officials, although only among the upper classes. The caste system was restricted in this way. On the other hand, the Buddhist monks in their temples were expelled from the cities to migrate to the mountains. This persecution was due to the change of religion and the resentment represented by monks for having been supporters of the previous dynasty. This religion on the part of the state gave new encouragement to the ethics of society, in addition to supporting the interests of the new ruling class. Confucianism was the method used by the Joseon Dynasty to reform its state and lead it on a better path, thanks to the development of Confucianism as a tool for social control and the development of a strong state. The Eunuchs. This social group, which came from the lower and underprivileged classes, was used as agents of the king, especially to ensure the safety of the king and his family. Their presence is notable. For example, in the palace of Gyeongbokgung, where the king's family resided. In this compound, the presence of officials, courtiers and soldiers was restricted to dusk, after which only the royal family and eunuchs could reside in the palace. In addition, this group of officials, which for those who did not know, eunuch means castrated, they exercised great influence on the king and his family because of their closeness, to the point of being trusted advisors or protectors of his children. This position gave them the opportunity to have important political and economic benefits, which generated this social group was involved in important social dramas and corruption scandals. Annals of the Joseon. In addition to being a deeply Confucian society and respectful of their family, one of their great values of Confucianism, they were especially wary of the past and present of their reign. For this reason, they kept detailed records of their actions. The Annals of the Joseon Dynasty are a series of more than 1,800 volumes of writings recounting all the events in the rule of each king of the dynasty, even some details that may seem unnecessary. It is said that the king of the dynasty was on a practice ride on horseback when he suddenly fell off his horse in front of all his companions. It's said that his first word when he got up was, "Let no one tell the historians," since it was his duty to tell everything that happened to the king. Culture in Korea 500 years ago. Language. One of the greatest achievements of the Joseon Dynasty was the creation of the Korean alphabet, or Hangul, by King Seong the Great, who was remembered for his important advances in culture and science. The Hangul alphabet is a source of great pride for Koreans. It's still in use today, and has a simple method for learning and using it. It's composed of 14 consonants and 10 vowels, and allows the expression of a great variety of sounds produced by human beings. As a curious fact, every year UNESCO awards the Literacy Prize, named after Sejong, to those who have made a significant contribution to fight against illiteracy. Seoul, new capital. One of the most fascinating aspects to develop during the Joseon Dynasty is the move to the current capital, Seoul, or Hansung, a city that became the centre of their power and which they were in charge of protecting and beautifying. The city was plagued at night by tigers who attacked unsuspecting peasants. For this and other reasons, a wall was built around the city. The Great Su Gate, or Sungyemun, as well as the Gyeongbokgung Palace, are examples of the achievements of the last dynasty that reigned in Korea and are part of its national culture. Tombs of the kings. As seems to be customary among the ancient kings, the Joseon Dynasty did not hesitate to build magnificent structures where they could rest their dead. We're talking about authentic funerary complexes, not similar in magnitude to the pyramids of the pharaohs, but not enviable in the detail and symbolism of the same. These tombs were authentic complexes to venerate the deceased. They were built in natural spaces specially designed by the proximity of rivers, slopes, or mountains, in addition to having auxiliary buildings to function as residence for the guards, royal kitchen, the steel shed, or the red barb door. This practice makes sense, taking into account the Confucian ideology, whose main value was centered on the family and ancestors. For this reason, the cult of respect for the deceased meant so much to them. These tombs were also places to worship those who were important figures for the kingdom and their families. Another reason for these practices was to show the authority of the monarchy, to protect the ancestral spirits against evil, and to protect them from vandalism. For the exterior facade, the tombs are ornamented with stone objects, including representations of people and animals. Many of these tombs have been preserved to this day, such as Namyangju. In addition, they were declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2009. Dynasty policy. Korea's history is plagued by inter-prince struggles, civil wars, and peasant revolts. The Joseon Kingdom was no exception. However, there were significant differences during the reign of their respective monarchs. A frequent situation was the struggle against the Manchus on the northern border. The situation always created difficulties for the Korean state. On the other hand, the invasions by the Japanese daimyos were a serious setback for the Korean state, which had come to the aid of Ming China. The relationship of the Kingdom of Korea with China represents more an alliance of younger and older brothers, respectively. Korea saw in China a superior culture and state, to whom it owed respect and obedience. We can exemplify as Sidi or Serving the Great, where Korea was a tributary state of China, and its culture was strongly conditioned by it. That's all, dear friends of the channel. I hope you enjoyed this little tour of the last monarchy of Korea, the Korea of 500 years ago, which has nothing to do with the current one. Before you go, we remind you that if you liked the video, it would help us a lot if you subscribe to the channel to continue growing little by little and bring much more content. Now, without further ado, we say goodbye